Hello there, people of the internet. Welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to talk about a game that holds a very special place in my heart. The game that after over a decade, I finally got the chance to finish. Final Fantasy XII. This was my introduction to the Final Fantasy series. I still remember the sense of awe and wonder the game filled me with as I was playing it. I can't begin to explain the impact this game had on my life, and I truly wouldn't be where I am today without it. With all that out of the way, let's get to the video. Final Fantasy XII was written by Yasumi Matsumoto. It is set in the war-torn world of Ivalice, focusing on the Kingdom of Dynast following its annexation by the Arcadian Empire. The story follows Van, a street urchin who dreams of being a sky pirate that lost both his parents and his older brother to the war. He eventually becomes entangled with Princess Ashalia Bernargan Damasker, otherwise known as Ash, the last surviving heir to the Damascan throne. While Van is the game's protagonist, the bulk of the story focuses on Ash's desire to liberate her homeland and avenge the death of her family and fiancé. But in order to do that, as well as progress the story, she needs to get kidnapped. And that's when the leading man himself, Valtyr, comes in. Valtyr is a sky pirate who globetrots Ivalice on his airship, the Strahl. He initially encounters Van in a, let's say, messy robbery of the royal treasury, and now finds himself caught in the middle in the game of politics. But he has his partner Fran to help him with this mess. Fran is a Vera warrior. That means she's a master of mist, this world's magic, as well as ranged combats and close-range combats. She also handles maintenance of the Strahl. As they progress through the story, they are joined by Captain Vash von Rotzenberg, the disgraced Dalmatian royal guard whose name is forever cursed throughout all of Ivalice, as he was prosecuted for the murder of Ash's father, King Ramanas, contributing greatly to the fall of Dalmasca. The last to join their ragtag group is Penelo, who after getting kidnapped by a bounty hunter, is somehow now tied in this world-shattering conflict. The game's narrative is characterized by its exploration of themes such as war, the pursuit of justice, revenge, and freedom, woven through a complex political landscape involving the Arcadian and Rosarian empires. Its structure reminds me a lot of Macbeth and other Shakespearean plays, and the machinations of the Arcadian Empire going on in the background heavily reinforces this idea. Like, for example, the Netherite, powerful sources of magical energy that the Arcadian Empire is looking into in order to seek control over Ivalice, as well as all the other forces in the background that are manipulating the events from the shadows. This was my first time experiencing a complex story in a game, and as much as I enjoyed the emphasis the creators placed on it, that made me notice a glaring flaw. I can't really talk about it without going into spoiler territory, so if you want to avoid seeing that, as well as me losing my mind, skip to this time right here. You have been warned. Okay, so as a person who regularly does hours upon hours of research, I read through every bit of lore the game gave me, which led to me having a theory that the Orcuri, the gods of Ivalice, would be the antagonist of the story. And as happy as I am to be somewhat right about that, not every player is going to read through absolutely every bit of optional content only to get a small snippet of it. and this way that they were utilized makes it seem like they came out of nowhere. And not only that, there are still a lot of questions about their whole deal that the story never tells you. I thought there was something I was missing, or maybe there would be a sequel, or both. It wouldn't be the first time they did this. But no, there's nothing else. So that means my questions about them will forever be left unanswered, which as a person who loves the story is an absolute travesty, because they made such interesting villains and they fit the themes of the story so well, but they barely have a presence, and they would have been perfect if they were just given more time and effort. Minor rant aside, I think it's time to move on to the gameplay. Throughout the game, the player directly controls the on-screen character from a third-person's perspective in order to interact with NPCs, objects, and enemies. The player also has full control over the camera, allowing for a full view of their surroundings. This makes it easy to notice enemies in the overworld, and the player may choose to fight or run from them. Battles unfold in real time using the Active Dimension Battle System, or ADB for short. Battles begin when the party comes within range of an aggressive enemy, and a player may swap or issue commands to any of the 3 active characters in the battle. And so long as a character is not being targeted by an enemy, the player is free to change them whenever they like. But EXP is only given to the party members that are active, so I recommend constantly switching out your characters if you want to level all of them up. But that's not the only method of growth. There's also the license board. The license board consists of hundreds of tiles, each representing an ability, spell, equipment, or augment. As an enemy is defeated, each living party member gains license points that can be spent in the license board in order to gain access to what occupies said tile and advance to the next one. As the player expands in the license board, they eventually gain access to quickenings, which are essentially quick time event limit breaks. The way it works is that when a character unlocks a quickening, said character gains a mischarge. Mischarges are used to perform quickenings, and you need to have fast reflexes in order to build up your combo before the timer depletes. And if you hit a certain pattern before this happens, you trigger an concurrence, which will massively boost your damage output. So you basically want to get as many quickenings as possible, and 9 times out of 10 you'll get a concurrence. I won't lie, quickenings are not easy to use at first, but there is a rhythm to it, and once the player learns the rhythm, they'll eventually master it and become a much stronger Fantasy XII player. But if that's not your area of expertise, you can instead use your Mistgauge to summon an Esper, which are supernatural beings found in hidden areas throughout Ivalice. To summon, a party member must consume a number of mischarges depending on the Esper's level. Once that happens, the summoned Esper and the summoner become the sole combatants until either one of them falls, and during this time, quickenings cannot be used. While Espers are powerful allies in battle, they are not invincible. They require careful planning, resource management, understanding of their strengths, weaknesses, abilities, and limitations, all in order to use them effectively. And the player cannot control them. They have their own gambits. And what's a gambit, you might ask? There are a series of conditions that the player can set up to dictate how each character acts when not given a command, making it so that the player doesn't have to micromanage everything, while still having room for input. And all of that covers the gameplay. So let's shift the focus to the game's astounding music, which was composed primarily by Hitoshi Sakimoto, who produced unforgettable themes such as Abandoning Power, Esper Battle, and my personal favorite, The Battle for Freedom. The soundtrack is an orchestral masterpiece that perfectly captures the atmospheric quality of each environment and scenario. Though it deviates from the more melodic focus of previous Final Fantasies, I believe that helps it stand out amongst the rest in the series. As I reflect on my experience with Final Fantasy XII and my journey throughout Ivalice, I'm reminded of the power video games have to transport us to new worlds, challenge our perspectives, and inspire us to think critically. This game may have released almost 2 decades ago, but its themes, mechanics, and music still remains relevant today. Final Fantasy XII is more than just a game for me. It's a reminder of where I came from and how far I've journeyed as both a gamer and a person. And I'm deeply grateful I got to have this opportunity to share it with all of you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.